Hey everyone, J-Rod Place here, and since we have a second week of challenges ahead of us, meaning the challenges are open for the Salvation's Edge raid, you can do challenge 1 through 5, all in a row in one sitting if you'd like, which is what I actually did to make up for the challenges that were taken from us, since we completed these challenges week after week, and Bungie didn't give us the retroactive challenges this week. I just wanted to put together a guide for Encounter 3 for people who are still struggling to get through this, or still really don't understand, based on some of the quicker guides that are out there, the nuance of trying to complete the challenge by not picking up the same shape twice in a row, and how you set your team up and everything when you're doing it through an LFG, of course. People who have set teams are probably already done with this, so this is for players who are just regularly LFGing, or they're trying it for the first time through an LFG because their groups, for example, aren't up for it or just aren't playing right now, taking a break, however. So these are, again, focused specifically on LFGs, and the reason why I make these guides is because I tend to LFG these. So as you'll see, I have a run that I did originally in week 3 that was with an LFG, and it was nobody knew each other the first time meeting, and we just kind of try to figure out how to get everybody on the same page. And there were some issues with shapes and things that I'll kind of go through, so that way you guys can kind of deal with the same pitfalls and issues that you have when you have people that are kind of, everybody's used to doing it their own way, and you have to find a way to meet in the middle. I even found somebody doing a strategy that I'd never seen, because normally most people had done the strategy one way, but they had their way, and so I'm going to go over both options. So in this case, the setup for the teams is going to be 2 teams of 3, or 3 teams of 2, however you like to look at it. You're going to have your senders in the entrance area, so the door that you come in, that's the entrance, and then you're going to have your closers going to be toward the exit door. And I don't want to use front and back because everybody confuses front and back based on the classroom or based on coming into a building. So I don't want to have that in the comments section, for example, saying no, this is the front or this is the back. So I'm just going to be using entrance where you come through, and exit. So the entrance team is going to be the senders, and the exit team is going to be the closers again. And you're going to have left team, middle team, and right team. And those teams, you can either have them mix and match as you go through the floors, or you can keep them together so that way everybody is calling the same person. So me, I was teamed up with a gentleman named King Afton, and he was sending to me on all 3 floors, I believe, depending on how we had it set up. And the way that you set up the 2 sides is you either give everybody like a final shape that they pick up so that they always know what their final shape is, or you give somebody a specific order, and then you have everybody else adjust to the final shape based on their positioning. So this week, for example, when I did it with a team that I'm more familiar with, we did it to where the conductor people went and got the shape, the last shape of their own conductor, and they stayed on that conductor. So I was on right team, and I stayed right throughout the entire fight, and I only ever came back to the right with the shape last that ended up right. So if my last shape was triangle, for example, I would go and I would pick up circle square, come back and pick up triangle since I was on the right, and then close my right conductor. If the next shape is going to be a different shape, I have to make sure that I'm picking up an intermediate shape that is not going to be tied to that. So let's say I finish on circle and my closing plate is triangle. Again, I want to make sure that the first shape that I pick up is not circle, because prior to that I just picked up a circle, so I'm going to pick up square first, circle, then triangle, and close. And so that's going to be kind of an example of how you kind of orient in your head the shape setup, and depending on which 2 ways you would go about it is going to be how you adjust. So I'm going to go into detail now on the first option. So the first option is going to be one for people who are probably a little bit more comfortable with each other, because you're going to be trying to move around the battlefield and then come back. And so that's going to be assigning the first senders a set order, meaning each team is going to get their set order. So like the left person with the squares starts out with squares on their side, so they'll pick up square, circle, triangle, right? The middle person, being a sender, starts out with circles on their side, so they're going to pick up circle, triangle, square, for example. And then the person on the right side would be triangle, circle, square. And they'll always do those orders throughout all the floors because they're only ever grabbing shapes near the entrance. And that makes it to where everybody for sure has 3 times resonance to dunk in the box when you're in the box phase. And it prevents them from accidentally picking up like two of one and then leaving the other person to try to remember if they picked up or not, and then it have to be a situation where they just don't pick up three and then you're short on time. So that's the front setup. Now the back setup is going to be again for conductor people who are going to stay with their conductors, and they're going to make sure that they pick up the final shape that's on their conductor. So again, let's say the call out is square, circle, triangle, and I am the right side. I'm going to actually probably pick up that order. I'm probably going to run and pick up square, circle, then pick up triangle last to close my conductor. The person in the middle, for example, is circle. In that case, they're probably going to just pick up triangle, square, circle, and close. And then the person who is square, they're probably going to come pick up triangle, circle, and square and close. And that'll be the last shape that you remember going into the next floor, so that you're not going to pick that up first in case your shape changes, because your conductor shape is going to change. You're just going to go pick up your shapes in that order to make sure you don't double pick up, come back to your original conductor and close your conductor. And then those people will stay in place through all three floors. So I'm always right all the way up. Middle's always middle, left is always left. And that requires that the people in the front, the senders, know to move. So I'm bringing up a diagram now so you can see how the plates change in correlation to each other going through the three floors. In room one, it's straight ahead. But in room two, the middle person is going to be sending to the left plate, and the left person is going to be sending to the middle plate. So if you're having the plate people move, you'll have the middle person, instead of going to the middle and sending middle, they're going to go left to send to their middle person. And the left person is going to go mid to send to their left person to stay in the same team. And then the person on the right, it's the same. The right person is still straight ahead. So the right team will stay together on the right side. When you get to the third floor, you'll notice that it's going to jumble again. So now what's going to happen is the right person is actually sending to the left plate. So if you're keeping the teams together, the left plate person goes all the way right. The left plate, in this case, sends to the middle person. So from the first floor, the person who's in the middle of the first floor ends up left, and then the middle person sends to the right plate. So the right team person is going to end up middle, and then that right person is still going to stay the same. So that's the setup all the way through, and that's going to keep people from kind of walking over each other, as long as you stay to the rules of the people in the front, or the people that are in the entrance, should I say, are picking up the shapes that are near them only, and leaving the shapes that are at the conductors for the conductor team, and you don't run out of shapes and close a pillar early, then you're going to be fine. And so the pitfalls of that is people getting lost, because senders tend to actually stay the same. Most cases, the kind of the community LFG strat is to have the conductor people move and let the senders stay where they're at, right? Versus this is the reverse. The idea behind this is keeping the conductor people clean, so that way they can deal with their shapes. That kind of evens the burden. Instead of having to move and also deal with their shapes, they're just going back to their original platform that they're always on all three floors, and the other person is kind of taking and sharing the burden of moving. So that kind of leaves a little bit of brain power for the people that are doing the closing, and then the people who are doing the sending, who are normally doing a very boring job, have a little bit of work to do themselves on positioning back and forth, because of course they still have to go and help with the subjugator, kill the subjugator, and come back. They're going to have to help initially with the tormentor, kill the tormentor, and come back, but they're going to have to remember where they are in relation to their team. So that's something that is a little bit of an extra layer for people who are not used to that. If you're doing this strat, make sure your senders are comfortable with that strat, because they're gonna have more asked of them to pay attention to. And in that in between is where things usually fall apart, where teams forget about killing the sentinels, the turrets, for example. And the turrets that spawn tend to tear people up around the box, so people forget to hide from the turrets if they're in a bad position and peek shoot them, or wait and deposit last, like you'll see me do in the video. I deposit last to make sure that I'm not killed by a turret, so that way I don't contribute to losing resonance and having to start over. And just things like that, just little small adjustments that you're going to want to make middle of the fight to keep yourself safe. And you'll learn as you're doing runs over and over again, as you're trying to get used to your LFG team and trying to get a good run put together. So that's going to be the strategy that you would use all the way to the third floor. And then on the third floor, of course, you're still in your plates. You're going to kill just your tormentors as fast as possible. Just nuke them. Don't worry about who kills them, because everybody can see the open pillars and everybody can just read left to right. And then since everybody can see what the calls are, you can then just do your two pings like we talked about. And again, we're going to do two pings just to make sure that you have enough resonance, because you're still going to pick one up before you pick up your shape, and then pick up your shape. So you're only going to pick up two. You're going to pick up one to help clear your last shape so that you're not picking up the same shape twice in a row, and then come back and pick up your closing shape based on where you are assigned left, middle, or right. And then you're going to close your conductors, all three of them, after killing your subjugators. And again, the subjugators spawn all right on top of each other. You can save a super and just nuke them right away so that the plates are open, survive while you're waiting for your ping, and then close your plates, come up, and as long as you get one resonance in the box on that third floor, you'll clear the encounter. And so you'll hear me in the full run saying we won because I dunked my one resonance. Didn't matter if everybody else lost their resonance and died at that point. As long as we don't die to a timer or anything, we're going to win that encounter by killing the final bit of ads that spawn. So that's one thing to look out for, is when you're doing the pinging, you're doing two pings all the way up. And then on the third floor, instead of just doing one ping and close, you're going to do two pings to make sure you spawn the three resonance. And then you're going to grab two of those three resonance for yourself in the right order. And then you're going to close. So you'll see exactly how I do it in the third floor as well on my run. So that's the one strategy that you can do when you're talking about doing it one of two ways. Now, the opposite strategy is going to be to have the sender stay in their location, and they're not going to switch. So the left, right, and mid people stay left, right, and mid, and they just send two different people on the floors. And then the people who are on the plates themselves, what you're going to do is you're going to assign those people a shape. And so in the run that I was doing, I was actually assigned a shape. I was triangle, so I was always going to close the triangle pillar. And what that does is you're still going to have the front people pick an order that works for each other, but should I say the entrance people pick an order that works for each other. But the exit team, the team that's closing the conductors, they're going to go and they're going to pick up roughly the same order again, and they're going to close their plate based on their shape. So when triangle is middle, I'm closing middle. If triangle is the left one, I'm going to go close the left one. Triangle ends up on the right side, I end up on the right side. And so the teammates, they just send to whoever. But in this case, the people and the conductors end up getting the same order every time. So I'm triangle, for example, I can always get square, circle, triangle. Every single floor, square, circle, triangle. And on the last floor, I can just grab square, triangle, for example, and close my triangle pillar. So what that does is that makes it to where the conductor people have to be a little more flexible, because they're the ones moving from conductor to conductor based on what's desired of the shape for the conductor. And it cleans it up to where the conductor people don't get confused, because they're always that same final shape, and they're always going to grab the same order no matter what on every floor, because they're always cycling through. Because my shape is always going to be a triangle on the last shape. Going to the next floor, I can grab a square or a circle, doesn't matter. And then as long as I finish with a triangle, I'm clear to grab a square or circle, because that actually does the changeover. Like if I was square, I could grab square, triangle, square, and then close triangle if you really wanted to get advanced with that, to like reduce the movement between. But it's just a lot cleaner, I think, and a lot more foolproof to grab all three shapes in a specific set every single time when you're doing this strat. So that way you grab the shapes that you don't need first, grab the shape that you do need last. And of course, as long as somebody hasn't closed their pillar too soon, you're going to always have the shape ready to close the conductor on all three floors, and you're going to move on all three floors as well. So you would end up being the person on the first floor, for example, using the example picture, you would stay lined up with your teammate. And let's say I'm right side, for example. Second floor, I stay landed with my teammate. Third floor, though, I end up on the left side, which is you're gonna see in the video example. But if I was middle, for example, I was middle conductor, I close the first middle conductor. On the second floor, I go left. On the third floor, that middle person is going to end up on the right. And so you're still going to track in this strategy the closing conductor area. You're still going to track that for your initial pings, but then you're going to go and you're going to close the shape that you were given all the way up. So I'm still going to close triangle no matter what, wherever triangle is. But for the two pings, I'm just going to be the one moving in each of the floors to keep everybody in line and keep everybody in order. So that's the second way of doing this, where you are cleaning it up to where everybody knows what they're doing on every single floor and there's no confusion. The people in the entrance still have their assigned shapes all the way through so that there's no confusion. The people who are sending grab the shapes near the sending plates, and the people who are closing grab the shapes in the closing plates. And as long as you keep those two things clear, you won't have any issues getting this encounter done. Now, let's talk a little bit about the pitfalls of what can happen. I've kind of touched on some of them throughout the encounter, but I want to make sure that I go over them because these are what's going to end runs. So obviously hitting the timer is going to end your run. That's going to happen because you didn't have enough dunked. People died. People didn't pick up what they needed to pick up. They got lost. They got scared of picking up the wrong shape and ending the encounter. So if you run out of time, of course, that's going to happen when people do that. You can have that happen. One or two people can only dunk two, and you'll be fine because you'll still get full time. You don't need everybody's shapes all the way minus the three to close to get full time. And so you can always get by with a few of the closers having two resonance or a few of the senders having two resonance. Just make sure you don't die and make sure you're playing your life so that you don't lose a stack of resonance, for example, a whole stack of three. That could be very detrimental, especially if you're on the early floor and you do that on the first floor. So the next thing you're going to look at is to make sure that you are helping your team kill the turrets. That's going to be the next biggest threat because everybody forgets them. And when they stack up on one person, three turrets on one person, you really can't heal through that. Somebody's going to die and lose stacks, and that's going to hurt your run. That's going to very likely end your run if you do it at the wrong time. Watch out where the arm spawns as well. The arm can one-shot kill you. You want to make sure that you're not in a place where the arms normally spawn. If you kind of have done this encounter multiple times, they usually spawn either kind of in the center areas, one of the three center pillar areas, or in the backs in the corners. So just make sure if you don't see the arm already out as you're running through areas, try to kind of stay away from the walls because that's where the arm's going to come out of, is the wall, so that they don't one-shot kill you. You'll take a little bit of damage, but you won't die like you would instantly if you were right next to the wall where the arm came out. Tormentors and subjugators. So you can have one of two things set up. You can have somebody weaken a subjugator or a tormentor for you, or should I say tormentor really, and then kill the tormentor and read for you. Or you can have them weaken it and then leave it for you so that you can read if you're the conductor person. It really doesn't matter as long as you know what the shapes are. You don't have to see the shape to close the conductor. You can actually just shoot the conductor like normal, and as long as you step on the plate with the right shape to close it, it'll still close even if you don't have the buff. So don't freak out if somebody accidentally kills your tormentor. You can still just have them read for you. Just have them read right to left, or sorry, left to right, I mean. So you would read, like, if it was square, triangle, circle, and I was a triangle person, I could still go to the middle and close it, and it's just like a little amorphous blob. I still shoot it and step on the platform and close it that way, no problem. So that's not going to be an issue. If for the subjugators, you're going to decide if you have a team where they're not snatching the wrong shape from you. You can say, hey, stay and kill your subjugator first. So you're going to do a ping back, a ping, and then a ping back. And the sender should let that close, that plate close. Once that plate closes, they'll run up to you, and the subjugator will be spawning as they get there. You kill your subjugator, and then you go get your shapes to make sure that the subjugator doesn't accidentally kill somebody and then end your run because they died with resonance, or they died with the wrong resonance because they can't pick up another resonance and close that conductor. So that's one way to do it. Or if you're quick enough, you can leave the plate as you're sending it back to your sender, go grab your three shapes, and you'll still be back in time to kill your subjugator as it's doing its little bow and it's spawning in. So that's another option you can have. And I started to do that because people were snagging my shape. So I just said, let me go and leave early. I'll leave my subjugator up, and I'll come back and kill it as soon as I come back. And usually as I'm coming back, the subjugator is barely spawning. So that's going to be one way to do that as well. With the conductors, you want to make sure you're not closing your conductor early, because if you close a conductor, it's going to cut off one whole set of shapes, and that's going to prevent somebody from getting their final shape sometimes, or having enough shapes picked up so that they can cycle through and then deposit as well. So when you're doing your closings and you're saying, hey, I'm getting ready to close this, does anybody need a triangle? Say, hey, I'm getting ready to close the middle. Does anybody need a circle? I'm getting ready to close the right. Does anybody need a triangle? And just call that out so that way people can say, like, yeah, hold up, I still need my final triangle. And then you can wait. They're like, all right, I'm good. Close it, send and close, and don't have a problem there. So just keep that in mind. You're remembering the last shape that you close going up to the next floor. If you grab the same shape on the next floor, you'll get a challenge failed. So if I'm grabbing a triangle last, for example, in mine, if I get to the next floor, I have to grab a circle or a square, doesn't matter, before I grab the triangle again. And the same thing happens if my shape changes and I grab the triangle, and let's say my shape changes and I'm doing the change where I'm just sticking with the pillar, and I close triangle on the first floor and the second floor is a square. I can't grab a triangle first. I have to go and grab a circle, triangle, and then square to close, because the circle kind of cleans that rotation off where I've now no longer grab the same back-to-back shape, and then I can grab my triangle again, and then I can go close with the square. So you have to be mindful of that if you're doing the strategy or you're bearing a little bit more of the burden as the conductor and you're moving around and getting everything done that way. So a little bit more complicated on the conductor in that strategy, but still, hey, as long as everybody is comfortable with their role and you've put the people where they need to be, people who are a little weaker or need a little bit more leeway, you put them in the front so they don't die as easy. And then people who are able to really protect themselves and live through a lot of damage, you'll see in my run, I'm always near death because I'm dealing with all the ads and stuff in the back there, and also dealing with killing the turrets and things like that, and just trying to stay alive. You want to make sure that you're playing survivability in your build. Either you can go invisible if you're a hunter, for example, or you have a way to get your health back through ability kills like Proc and Devour. On your Warlock, you can run, again, I was running Speaker's Side Helm to get a turret for healing turret. And then, of course, I was able to heal myself with my own Rift, and then find ways to use ability kills to get my health back as well too. I could have switched to Devour as well in my kit. Instead of using the Strand aspect when you shoot out the projectiles from doing the Rift, which I had, that really helps a lot because the Threadlings will end up killing stuff around me. But I could have switched to Devour, for example, on that, and then anytime I used Helion would have healed me up by getting kills for me. So there's different ways that you can go about your build. Survivability is the key in this one, though, because there's not a whole lot of boss damage. So as long as you can handle the Tormentors, as long as you can handle the Subjugators quickly, and you have survivability, that's your perfect setup for your build that I'd recommend. Speaking of survivability, when you're around the box, you want to also make sure that you put like a healing rift down if you can, or a healing turret if you're running speaker side, if you're a warlock like me. That way you can heal anybody who's coming in low health to dunk, especially because that's when the time that the turrets usually spawn and start to kind of gang up on people in the center. So either stay away if you're low health, so you're not like in firing distance of the turrets, get your health back and then go in and dunk, or get in there if you're somebody that can heal and drop some type of a heal for everybody, so that way they can get in there and safely dunk and they don't lose resonance right at the box, because that's the worst time to lose resonance, right when you're getting ready to dunk. But other than that, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and drop them into the comments. I will be a little bit busy over the next few days, but if I see you from my app, I can actually still respond to any of your questions on like closing or picking up shapes in specific orders or things that you may be failing on. Just go ahead and drop me a comment and I'll try to get to it as soon as I can. As far as the run, I'm going to put through the run, like I said, from week 3. So this is not the run that I just did this week, but it's the run that I did the first week with just full LFGs. And you can kind of see how I work with everybody, how we talk through things, how even in the middle of the encounter, I talked and confirmed things with people just to make sure that I was doing something that was going to be helpful and not set us back and start us over again. And so from that full run, if you have any questions about that, same thing, drop me a comment. I just want to say I appreciate my new subscribers too. You guys have been great. I've had like a steady growth here these last few months, and so I appreciate all your new subscribers coming in, but also my current subscribers for sticking with me. I still have one more guide to make. That's going to be the Verity guide. I'm going to try to get that out before the weekend. If not, I'll get that out mid next week, and that'll cover the dissection and then, of course, the challenge itself. And so I'll see you guys in that guide.
Yeah, someone just taking your shapes from the. That's happened a few times now.
I'm just going to go early. I'm just going to leave my sub up for a little bit and make sure I can snag them before somebody else does. That way we don't have that problem anymore.
Go mid. Can you send mid?
Still debating.
Oh, that's...
Her. On right side.
Ending back.
On right side.
Good.
It's any better.
Build subjugated.
Okay. Also left. We're close.
No, don't stand until everyone
Don't
goes in.
set up your subject still. I send one.
Just keep bouncing left.
What's the call on this one?
It's the exact same as a pass through.
Okay,
Where's
ready for mid
closed?
then.
Okay. I send middle.
There's a circle up in middle still. Turrets.
There's still turrets on the right. Yep, there we go.
That's unfortunate.
You're gonna have to call middle.
Where's left? Triangle mid.
Circle up.
Circle's right.
Sending middle.
It's square,
Square,
triangle,
triangle,
circle.
circle.
Yep.
Stand on right.
Sending back.
Right side sending back.
Wow.
Back.
Oh, we get some.
Subjugators are up.
Alright.
Turn left as soon as you're ready.
Ready on mid.
Right's right now.
Okay, sending
Middle.
Still a circle on left side, some pick up, still
Turning
circles
right.
here.
I'm gonna hide from the
Close up.
turrets.
Turrets.
Down.
Kill him maybe.
Oh, it's one middle one.
Coming to deposit.
Oh my god, bro.
Yeah,
You,
okay.
you in a good spot? You got him. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So remember,
Still
we need
got
one extra
checks.
resonance, so 2 pings. And we shouldn't have to grab all 3 in this case, right? We should just have to grab like one opposite and then like the one we need to close on this floor.
oh.
2. Yes, you can just grab 2.
Wait, are we not doing the...
We're still pinging it twice. We're doing the
Okay.
exact same.
How about positionally for the plates? Are we keeping like the proper...
Everything is the exact same.
But like
That's
Raziel should be on left plate just to make sure nobody's confused. Because that's how the order is normally when you're doing it on regular. Okay, circle, triangle,
Turrets.
square.
Turrets.
Okay.
Right.
So,
middles are.
Sending middle.
Back.
Sending back.
That was
You didn't
circle
send it
triangle
back,
square.
man.
I'm gonna clear that.
Strat.
One more. Alright, plates are open. Everybody good?
Yep. When you're
Alright.
The
ready.
circle triangle square, did you say?
Send
Yeah,
middle. Send
circle
middle
triangle
plates.
square.
Okay, I send middle.
Alright, stand there, hang on. Locked.
Nice.
Nice, good job, guys.
Be careful.
Oh, turrets.
Turrets.
Yeah, putting down a rift up here. Alright, we won. I
I
got the
got
deposit.
I got his wrist.
I got him.
Just gotta kill ads now.
Did you?
Nice eminence.
Got the pulse as well.